The Committee on State and Local Government will come to order. It is Tuesday, April 14, 2026, and the time is 12:39. A quorum is present. We have first up Senator Westlin, Senate File 4898. Senator Westlin, whenever you're ready. And then it looks like you have an amendment.
I do. I believe it
The
is
A1?
A1.
Yep. And members, it should be in your packet already. Senator Johnson Stewart moves the A1 amendment. All those in favor of the A1 amendment, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. The amendment is adopted. Senator, whenever you're ready, you may
Great.
continue on.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members. I am bringing forward today Senate File 4898, which one would characterize as a good governance bill. When someone receives an email with mnsenate.gov or a call with a caller ID stating it's coming from the Minnesota Senate, there is an implicit trust that is given to the individual reaching out. They trust that the individual is, in fact, affiliated with the legislature and, as such, may give more weight to the individual request or statement. Individuals with access to Senate or House emails, phone numbers, or assigned offices without affiliation to either body would have the ability to misrepresent the legislature either knowingly or unknowingly, and it's simply just an improper use of resources. The executive branch actually does currently have in statute use of state property provision 43A.38, but there is no similar provision for the state legislature. There are no rules or statutes that prevent non-legislature affiliated individuals from being granted Senate or House email addresses, phone numbers, or office spaces. And this is not just about the public trust, but also ensuring that we are good stewards of taxpayer dollars and that we are maintaining a high level of cybersecurity. Should an individual not affiliated with the legislature have access to legislative email, there's a risk that they are included in Senate or House-wide emails regarding security updates or other confidential matters. This is a bill about good governance and protecting the integrity of our legislature. I will do a quick run through. It is a very brief bill. Subdivision 1 simply states that a member, officer, or employee of the Senate or House of Representatives is prohibited from establishing a legislative email address or for assigning a telephone number to a person who is not a member, officer, or employee of the Senate or House of Representatives. Again, this should go without saying, but it is not currently in rule or statute. Member telephone numbers are actually assigned to the Senate district that the member represents. Subdivision 2 states that the legislative telephone number assigned by the Senate or House to a member is for the exclusive use of the member, and if authorized by the member, an employee who is assigned to support the member. That's from the A1 amendment. Office space is under subdivision 3. Member, officer, or employee of the Senate is prohibited from allowing a contractor or other person who is not a member, officer, or employee to permanently or temporarily occupy an office space that has been assigned by the Commissioner of Administration to the Senate or House without prior written notification of the leaders of each caucus. The Senate and House, in the enforcement section under subdivision 4, the Senate and House must adopt rules under this provision to implement this section, including remedies. The remedies provided by the rules of the Senate and House of Representatives, as now amended by the amendment, are exclusive and are in lieu of any other remedies at law or in equity. And the purpose of having this really be limited to remedies from each body is that this is again a good governance issue. This is an issue for each body to be policing, if you will, their own members and their own use of resources. So I will close simply by saying, again, there are clearly no clear parameters at this time preventing the misuse of these particular state assets. It's possible that the misuse at times may not be intentional, but we do need to make some clear lines and create rules around this the use of Senate email, Senate phones, Senate offices, and the same for the other body. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Senator Westlin. Members, any questions or comments to the bill? Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Westlin, for the bill. Senator Westlin, I was listening to your introduction, and I've got an amendment that would add the executive branch with the same language, but maybe it's going to be redundant. Could you describe again what they have in the executive branch right now?
I can. Let me just pull up the language. It's in 43A.38. And it says use of state property. An employee shall not use or allow the use of state time, supplies, or state-owned or leased property and equipment for the employee's private interests or any other use in the interest of the state except as provided by law. And I'm trying to see if it goes on further, but it is a similar provision, and it says that you can't use, the executive branch may not use state property for non-governmental purposes.
Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator Westlin. It sounds like what you're writing for the legislature, though, is much more detailed than that. Does it? And I don't know, I maybe won't offer the amendment, or I could bring it out and show it to you, or hand it to you after the hearing. But it might make sense to have something that is more detailed. I know I've, in my tenure here, run into places where citizens have suggested that both in state and local governments, some of those laws have been abused. And your language in the bill for the legislature here, I think, is good in that it's detailed. And I think maybe the executive branch might benefit from some similar detail, just as you read that 43A statute, which I haven't been able to bring up yet. But maybe, yeah, I'll share this with you. Do you want to, are you interested in the amendment, Senator Westlin?
Mr. Chair and Senator, I'd be happy to look at the amendment. And I don't know if council has any sort of opinion about 43A.38. My sense is it does get to that same, it's drafted differently, but it does get to that same idea that you cannot use, that an employee of the executive branch is not permitted to use or to allocate, for example, a .gov email. They can't just give a .gov email to somebody who's outside of the executive branch. And that is kind of a specific situation that we are addressing here. But I would be happy if you've got an amendment. I'd be happy to see your amendment. I think this might be, I can't remember if we're passing this next to the floor or if we're laying it over.
It's being sent to rules, Senator Westlin.
Oh, to rules, that's
Senator
right,
Westlin.
because it's a late bill. I'd be happy, if you're amenable to it, I'd be happy to take a look at your language, and if it clarifies things for the executive branch, we could certainly look at making some additional amendments to the bill. I would also want to make sure, because it's unclear to me whether or not the current language in 43A, either in that section or others, addresses the same issue, so that we aren't actually muddying the waters.
Okay.
Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Senator Cran has some opinions on this. A couple other things, Senator Westlin, I just think about, and this certainly doesn't belong in law here, but those of you that are going to be here next year, just in the way the Senate operates, we still have an 800 number. And I don't know why we're paying for an 800 number. So please cut off the 800 numbers for everybody next year, and ditch all the phones on your desks in your offices, because none of us use them. Oh, maybe all but one doesn't use them.
Mr. Chair, Senator.
But Senator Westlin and Mr. Chair, I got rid of mine 3 years ago and never missed it, and it would be a good boat anchor for a small boat.
Mr. Chair and Senator, I've used my phone one time, and I had to ask my LA how to dial out. My LA uses it, but I agree with you. I don't necessarily use it. I think we still have to have a phone for constituents to call in on, but you are correct. It sort of gathers dust on my desk, and I'm with you on the 800 numbers.
Senator Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm curious. I like the amendment. You answered one of my questions in there. And the other question I have, how do you enforce this? It's just rules of the Senate or rules of the House that the body gets to enforce their own. But if you have a rogue leader like I used to have many years ago, who's the enforcement mechanism? What's the appeal process, or
Yep.
and how do you go around?
Senator Westlin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator. And what the amendment does is it does provide for for each body to develop remedies, and there have been questions about, should there be remedies outside the body, for example? And I think at this point, in working with my colleague, we're focusing on internal remedies. I think that each body could develop either through an ethics process or something, that there would be consequences for violating it. I don't know what those might be, but at this point, we are maintaining this really sort of an internal process, and hoping that that's going to address any future issues.
Senator Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess we'll just take it as it is right now, and if we have internal problems, you and I can get together and figure out a better path then. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and Senator, happy to.
Senator Coran.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Senator Westlin. I like Senator Drazkowski's proposed amendment from the perspective of, essentially, it's pretty detailed. No person or private business shall be provided those resources, email addresses, or to operate under the guise of a legislative body. But I also think it should apply to the executive body. We have that happening every day here. So we've got public unions are granted, those are private entities. They're granted access to email systems and given emails to operate within the entire email system. It's great. If they want to negotiate, they can do it to the members that they have. They don't need access to it. In addition to, the AG's office has private resources operating under the guise of the with our email, and so wherever else that resides or exists, I think it should apply. It's detailed as this one is for the legislature. So I look forward to the language that Steve and Senator Drazkowski and we all work out when this moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senator.
Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Westlin, for bringing the bill. It's so interesting that there's so many weird ways legislators can behave, and laws we need to put in place for it. And far before either you or my time, I think there used to be an issue with members using their phones to call long distance when it was still really expensive to call long distance. And so yes, yeah, really, yeah, it was a huge deal. And so I think any steps we can take to make sure that public resources are used appropriately for public use is just good. And this should be relatively non-controversial, because I think it's just appropriate to say emails, office space, phone numbers for legislators are for legislators and then their employees to do their work. So thank you. Yep.
All right. Any final words for us, Senator Westlin?
I have no final words.
All right. And then with that, Senator Hemmingson-Yeager moved Senate File 4898 as amended to be recommended to pass and referred to rules. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion passes. Senate File 4898 as amended is recommended to pass and referred to rules. Next up, Senate File 2321, Senator Johnson Stewart. Hello, Senator Johnson Stewart. Would you like to, I think you have an amendment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the A3.
Senator Johnson Stewart moves the A3 amendment. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The amendment is adopted. Senator Johnson Stewart.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I left the A3 on my desk, but I think I remember what it says. So Senate File 2321 is a really good, it's a very simple, good governance bill. As you know, I'm a member of the Capital Investment Committee, and every year we get hundreds of capital investment or capital requests from from local units of government across the state. This year alone, we've had billions of dollars in requests. These projects are essential for our local communities, but right now, when we field these applications, the legislature and MMB have no idea if local governments have plans to maintain and eventually replace these critical community assets. By the way, this is not a requirement, it's just information that we are asking to gather. So Senate File 2321 would require local governments to document and let us know if they have local maintenance and replacement plans when they submit their capital investment requests to MMB and to the legislature. This is important because we should have a full understanding of how communities intend to care for their expensive capital assets to ensure that communities don't return to the legislature in 25 years for full replacement costs for a community asset that they had no intention of investing in themselves. My co-author and the other body worked on the legislation last session. This is a very, this bill and amendment represents a significant amount of work with many stakeholders, and I'm proud to present it. I would ask for your favorable passage. That's all I have to say. And I have no testifiers.
All right, thank you. Members, any questions or comments to the bill?
Senator Cran has
Senator
something.
Cran?
Senator Barr's on the other side there, he's looking too. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Senator, I think I understand it. I imagine if we look back for each year or each decade in the last 50 years, I bet there's been a version of this. And I think the reality is that's why the chairs set the match, right? What is the participation? Did you have any savings and all those things? I don't know what we're going to find out of it and who's going to collect the data and at what cost, and then what? It won't fix good governance. So that's my fear. And so it's nice to have, it's legitimate, it's a big challenge. But let's just use a county example. We've already placed so many burdens on them, they can't use their money. They can't use their money. So do we give them a holding account, right? I think we should do it. We give them a holding account that they get credit for every unfunded state dollar for just DHS services alone. And so they would never be able to meet the obligation and to be able to say you can't come back. And then the cities have a little less bad as far as the mandates that we put on them. So I don't know, I just don't know that it's going to do anything outside of let's fund government. If we did that, or the local for which we expect them to do something, then we might be in a better position to say, listen, you're not going to come, right? We're not going to come back to the trough, because that's what the implied goal would be. But I think just in the county, they would never be able to meet that obligation because they can't spend the money they currently levy to meet their obligations because of what's been imposed on them. And so they can record it, we'll do a bunch of work, and at the end of the day, 10 years from now, somebody will go, what the heck did Ann Johnson Stewart or Senator Johnson Stewart do? And we'll be in the same boat. So I just don't know that it solves anything. So thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Senator Johnson Stewart.
So thank you, Senator Cran. I would push back a little bit. So this would not preclude a local agency from receiving bonding dollars. What it does is it requires them to check a box that they, in fact, here's what it says, whether they have a plan for maintenance and preservation of this project. It's really important that local governments, and I would push back to many, in fact, every single county in Minnesota does have a pavement preservation and maintenance plan. It's required by state government. It's required by law. So many counties do have asset preservation and pavement preservation plans. If you remember when I was up here a couple weeks ago with one of our state agencies talking about asset preservation, this is something that it's really important for local governments to think about. There's a whole movement within my professional community to ask local owners of assets, whether it's a sewage treatment plant or a water treatment plant or a road or a school, to really think about the long-term maintenance, because I will be careful with my words here because I don't want to establish a position, but if, for example, we say to a city that we're going to give them $10 million to build a new water treatment plant, and Senator Cran is correct, our typical request is that they come to the bonding committee with half of the money, which is important. But now we are, you might say we are giving them the money to create a new asset for their community. But as you can imagine, many of us are homeowners, it costs money to own an asset. And so for a community that's not prepared for the ongoing maintenance of, we'll just say, a water treatment plant, that can be a very big problem for them over time. Another example, my husband and I are very active in our church. We have a huge church, and up until the time that Ann and Jeff Stewart got involved, there was no plan for long-term maintenance on an enormous 13,000 square foot building, I think. And so we started to ask the question, well, what happens if our heating system goes out? What happens if our roof goes out? And many of you are also church members or whatever communities you belong to. There's always this emergency to fix it, right, without any planning. We want to get away from that. And I would very much, Senator Cran, you are exactly right. This is not requiring anything, and it will not impact how we assess the grants. But what we want to do is get local agencies to start thinking about the cost of an asset, because it's really important. And it's even important, even more important now when local agencies are stretched thin. So they might think personnel is their biggest cost, but replacing a sewer pipe, which many of you have bonding requests in for right now, that is a big cost. And if they don't plan for it, we don't want to penalize them, but we want them to plan for it. So that's the motivation here.
Senator McQuaid.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Senator Johnson Stewart. We actually just had a home going for our church boiler on Sunday. It was bought secondhand in 1989, so she's gone home. No, I really appreciate this because I don't sit on the Capital Investment Committee, but there's two projects that came to mind in my own district that I think are just really useful and instructive examples here. So first, we got a bonding request in 23 or 24 for an accessible playground in Minnesota, or in Apple Valley, excuse me. And that same year, we had a parks levy that increased the amount of money we put towards parks. And so the city of Apple Valley could have said, yes, we want bonding dollars for this inclusive playground, and we're gonna have additional dedicated parks dollars to maintain it over time. So we're not gonna keep coming back to the city or to the state and asking for money for this park. Second, we have a very old hockey arena in Apple Valley, and the technology that maintains the ice currently doesn't exist anymore. So if we came to the state and we were like, we need to pay to fix the system, which was one of the bonding requests for a long time, fix the system that maintains our ice. What is your plans to maintain it? At a certain point, we can't. They actually don't manufacture the stuff, the coolant that they use anymore. And so the committee would be able to say, like, look, maybe you should look at replacing your entire arena, which is what we're going to be doing. And I think that information is important, right? You can get to the heart of it. Is this something that can be maintained over time? Are there plans to maintain this over time? Or is this something that actually it can't be maintained into the future, and that will give the committee more information. It doesn't mean that, communities will be turned down if they don't have this, but at least it puts it on the list of things to consider. Do we have a plan for this maintenance? And I think about all the buildings that, the U and the Minsky campuses that are going to be potentially torn down. Like, it'd be nice to have those plans or know that people are thinking of those plans. So I appreciate this bill. I like things that are simple but effective.
All right, Senator
Did
Johnson.
Senator Barr have a question?
Senator Barr.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like where you're going with this, because every year I look at the bonding bill when it comes out. I've never sat on the committee, but you can look at the final product, and you guys have narrowed it down to these are the projects we're going to fund. And every year there's a ton of HEAPR money in there. And that's exactly what this is addressing. If you've got, and it doesn't matter which agency it is or whatnot, but you have something we have built. We have used taxpayer funds to pay for building this, and you put nothing away to put a new roof on, a new heat or air, whatever it is, windows. It doesn't matter what it is. It takes, as you mentioned earlier, it takes dollars to maintain that. And you've put nothing away for maintenance, and then you come back to the legislature every year, and you know who the normal suspects are. They come in and say, we need money because it's falling apart. Well, where's your skin in the game? And I just hate putting money into HEAPR because it says you didn't manage your assets wisely, and now we're going to reward you because you didn't manage your assets. So with that, I appreciate where you're going with this. I like it. I wish it was a little more forceful instead of a report, but I'll take every step in the right direction I can get. So thank you.
Senator Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I like the bill. I like the idea. I think it is a good governance bill. I wish you didn't have to come here and force it or force people to do it. I just wish they would do it. My question is, does this extend further than bonding projects? And what I mean by that is, if what comes to mind, and you know, something that we all deal with is local sales tax and projects that are built with local sales tax dollars, where I've asked that question many times. Well, who's going to put a roof on in 20 years? And that's never even a thought at that point. So I'm curious if this bill does extend to that, or should it?
Senator Johnson Stewart.
Mr. Chair, I did talk to our state auditor about this bill and to community stakeholders. I believe this only applies to bonding. Because capital investment, GO bonds are very specific and there's criteria around it. I don't believe, I mean, I'm familiar with our efforts in Minnetonka to buy capital investment locally with state tax, or I'm sorry, with local sales tax, and I don't believe there's any parameters around that. I mean, I don't believe that this applies to those parameters, is what I meant. I think it would be great, but I think that's a local control issue.
Senator Lang.
Local control, thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, local control, I think it's correct. However, local sales taxes are unique in the fact that, and I'm getting off topic, I apologize from that, but yeah, laying for more taxes, right? The local sales taxes are always such a unique animal because it starts with an agreement between the city council and citizens, moves on to an agreement with the city council or the county with the legislature, and then it goes to the voters. So it's like a four-way agreement that all these dollars are supposed to be spent. So the legislature is involved, no matter what we want to do. So having some criteria on that, or I don't know if you had an amendment and say this includes local option sales tax as well, but.
I do, Mr. Chair, I don't have an amendment, and I had not thought beyond this. To Senator Barr's point, I don't know if I'll come back to if I'll be allowed to come back to the legislature next year, but if I do, I will look to expand this idea, as I said, in my profession, which, did you notice I did not mention it on purpose? But in my profession, there is a significant movement to really look at asset management as part of an initial investment. I mean, it's been around for pavements for decades, and like I said, that's in state law. But I think to my colleague's point, we really need to think about this in terms of buildings as well. Just so you know, our church now has a several $100,000 endowment that was funded by church members and specifically for capital investment on our building. And I think that serves as a good model for universities, for colleges, for schools, for state buildings, for prisons. We really need to think about the ongoing maintenance. But this is a very limited bill, and it applies just to the application for state GO bonds.
All right, and with that, Senator Johnson moves Senate File 2321.
Mr. Chair, you should say Johnson Stewart.
Senator Johnson Stewart. As amended, to be recommended to pass and re-referred to judiciary. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The motion prevails. Senate File 2321 as amended is recommended to pass and re-referred to judiciary.
Thank you, members.
All right, and with that, we will hand over the gavel to one of our vice chairs, Senator Gustafson.
Senator Xiong, you have SF 4059, and I believe you have an amendment. Sorry, stand by.
Yes.
Okay. I want to correct the bill number. You've Senate File 4932 before us, and that was on me. And you have an amendment to that.
Yes, Madam Chair.
If
I would
you-
like to offer the A2 amendment. It adds an MMB provision that the committee had previously heard as Senate File 3854. This relates to pharmacy benefit manager procurement for CGIP and addresses the current reverse auction requirement. Under current law, MMB is required to use a reverse auction process, but a recent evaluation found no clear evidence that it produces savings, a finding affirmed by the Office of the Legislative Auditor. This amendment provides flexibility going forward, allowing MMB to use most effective procurement tools rather than being locked into a process that has not produced results. And so that's the A2 amendment.
All right, thank you, Senator Xiong. Moves the A2. All in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The amendment is adopted. I believe we have two testifiers?
Yes. And, before us, Senate File 4932. Aside from the amendment we just adopted, the bill makes two updates related to state government operations and state employee benefits. As you know, the federal government stopped minting new pennies last year. While existing pennies are still being recirculated, supply has declined faster than expected. State agencies and banking partners are now reporting shortages. Section 1 authorizes state agencies to round cash transactions to the nearest 5 cents and establishes a standardized rounding framework for cash transactions only, and does not apply to electronic or other forms of payment. Section 2 provides flexibility to MMB by making the high deductible health plan optional rather than required for employees in non-represented and managerial plans. Out of 131,000 total members, only 264 employees are enrolled in CGIP's high deductible health plan, less than 1% of total memberships, with just 89 enrolled in the two plans where it's currently required. And so this is aimed to give MMB the opportunity for additional efficiencies in administering CGIP. And so the testifiers can go into details or answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Senator Xiong. First up is Paul Moore. If you could state your name for the record and begin when you're ready.
Thank you, Chair Gustafson and members of the committee. For the record, Paul Moore, Assistant Commissioner of Accounting Services at Minnesota Management and Budget. I oversee accounting and treasury operations for the state government enterprise. And thank you, Chair Xiong, for your authorship of this bill. As Chair Xiong noted, the U.S. Mint stopped minting new pennies this fall and had stated that pennies would recirculate as long as possible. We were all surprised at the pace at which pennies have left circulation, and now we have state agencies reporting that they are unable to order change orders of pennies from our banking partners, which presents challenges for making exact change when engaged in transactions with members of the public. There are no authoritative regulations or federal law regarding rounding rules, and the U.S. Department of Treasury noted that states are going to approach this issue differently. You senators may see with businesses in your districts that they have created their own rounding rules often and have posted those policies at registers. The difference being state agencies are not authorized unless they have specific statutory authority to round, and they need to make exact change absent authority. So this legislation provides state agencies as well as those entities that are authorized to engage in transactions on behalf of the state, such as deputy registrars, the authority to round per the rules or framework provided in the bill, which is known as symmetrical rounding. The bill makes clear rounding would only apply to cash transactions, not other forms of payment, and it also requires that state agencies, or again, those entities authorized to engage in cash transactions with the public on their behalf, must post their policies at the point of the transaction. With that, would like to hand the testimony over to my colleague, Mr. Ben-Soof.
All right, if you could state your name for the record and begin when ready.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Galen Benchoof, and I'm the Enterprise Director for Employee Insurance at MMB, where I oversee the Civic program. As Chair Xiong mentioned, this provision relates to increasing administrative efficiencies within CGIP. CGIP currently provides insurance benefits to approximately 131 state employees, dependents, and retirees annually in all 3 branches of government, Minnesota State and certain quasi-state agencies. As the chair mentioned, we're currently required to offer a high deductible health plan for employees in 2 executive branch compensation plans, the non-represented and the managerial plans. And this proposal would allow the option to not provide that separate plan for those employees. A significant amount of staff time and resources are devoted to operate this separate plan for a very small proportion of our employees. If we did decide down the line to cease offering this plan, those employees' medical coverage would shift to the Minnesota Advantage Health Plan, where all other CGIP members are enrolled at the same monthly premium rate to the employee. And in advance of making any such decision about the high deductible plan, MMB would communicate in detail with those affected employees. This provision simply gives us the option to offer or not offer that plan.
All right, thank you very much. Members, any discussion or questions? Senator Coran?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Senator Xiong. I agree with the rounding piece of it, but we're one level of government, and all other levels of government are not excluded from the same pain. And so I think we have to consider either shortly or before we get to the floor to allow some accommodation for our municipalities to be there a permissive environment that they also have. Our counties and cities are all going to be in the same boat. So I think we need to be open for consideration for that. So just wanted to bring it to everybody's attention. We probably need to prepare something and consult with the counties and the municipalities, but be prepared for something on the floor or its next step.
Senator Matthews.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to offer the A1 amendment. I believe members do have it in packets.
Senator Matthews offers the A1 amendment, if you want to describe it a little.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's a small fix, but it will change the rounding formula to always go down to the most recent nickel. And so the rounding, in my view, will always make it go in favor of the taxpayer. So instead of the first 2 cents rounding down and the next 2 cents rounding up, this would always be rounding down to the previous nickel level. And I call it my penny amendment. Would ask for members' support of the amendment.
Senator Xiong?
Yeah, thank you, Senator Matthews. I know you for giving me the opportunity to kind of look ahead at the amendment and kind of do my own digging on like why. I don't know. I didn't know anything about this before I came, but except for that, hey, the penny's getting, taken out of circulation. So the U.S. Treasury had cited the NCSL report stating that the most recommended form of rounding of payment is symmetrical rounding, and so which is the method used in this bill. And so it's reflected in bipartisan federal legislation in other states. And so, you know, I can defer to Mr. Commissioner Moore, and they can give the department's perspective on that too.
To the testifier.
Thank you, Chair Gustafson and Senator Matthews. Would offer a couple of comments. The first being the intent with this bill is to keep rounding budget neutral to the state. To the extent this were to be adopted, it would need to be analyzed and fiscal noted to determine the trackable fiscal impact to state agencies by always rounding down. The other comment I would offer is that this bill applies to both sides of a transaction, whether we as the state are providing funds to a member of the public or a customer or collecting funds. From my experience at Minnesota Management and Budget, we maintain what's called the Treasury window. Minnesota Management Budget issues warrants or checks as a payment option to those who are entitled to payment from the state. The Treasury window is the one guaranteed place in the state an individual can go to cash their warrant under this rounding rule, always rounding down. In that case, the taxpayer or payee would be shorted in every instance.
Senator Barr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To the testifier, can you tell me how many cash transactions the state actually does now? I mean, every dealing I have with the government nowadays is required to be online. And this applies only to cash transactions. So where would this apply?
Mr. Moore.
Chair Gustafson, Senator Barr, cash transactions are actually surprisingly prevalent across state government. I've surveyed state agencies and myself was surprised at the number of state agencies still providing cash as a payment option. While I don't have a number for you, Senator, where it is most prevalent and where the bill would provide the most relief would be to Department of Public Safety and Driver and Vehicle Services, which would also apply then to our deputy registrars. Department of Natural Resources as well. They also utilize deputy registrars for licenses like hunting and fishing. They also run gift shops at their state parks, and which would have sales tax applied and then be down to the penny. Department of Revenue, settling tax liabilities. Individuals can go to Department of Revenue's physical location to make a payment. And then finally, as I previously mentioned, M&B maintains the state's treasury window where we cash individuals' warrants and whatever amounts those are.
Senator Barr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I realize that most of those still accept, but very, very few actually are processed in cash through either a card or a check. A debit card, credit card, or a check. I know the registrar, when I go in to renew tabs, it's always just tap the card and go. So that wouldn't apply to this. I would be interested if sometime between now and when we get to the floor with this, if we could get an actual percentage or some way that we can quantify these are the cash transactions as opposed to total transactions. And then Senator Matthews, I don't know how we're going to fix this, but I would really like to see payments rounded up to the taxpayer so we capture both sides. If we can figure that one out, I think that would be a great amendment to the amendment if it can be figured out there or work at a later date. But yes, the state is taking too much money already. Let's at least give a couple of pennies back here and there to the taxpayer. Thank you.
All right, since it is Senator Matthews' amendment, we'll give you the final word, and Penny for your thoughts.
Touche, Madam Chair. I'll even offer 2 pennies based on the rounding here. Appreciate the discussion, and thanks for bringing that second issue to my attention, because that's my point of the bill. Government's collecting so many billions every year, and so we'll have this round up, and I guess what are we going to do now? Go into the registrar and have several stickers that will be told if it's $24.98 if you're cash, or $24.98 if it's a credit card, or it's gonna be $25 if it's in cash. But if you do your credit card, you're gonna have your whatever % processing fee for the credit card tapped on and all of those interlaying things. So my goal was to try to make it a simple formula of going in favor of the taxpayer here and be open to correcting that second issue along the way. Ask for your support.
All right, to the A1 amendment from Senator Matthews, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay.
No.
Nay. The A1 is not adopted. Senator Xiong, any closing remark? Oh, I'm sorry, Senator Drazkowski, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I still, and I was trying to listen closely to the gentleman here, but what is the motivation of government to not want to offer options to people to have high deductible health plans? Why don't you want to do it?
To the testifier?
Madam Chair, Senator Drazkowski, that plan is only available to non-represented employees, which already are a small proportion of overall state workforce. And on top of that, a small percentage of eligible employees enroll in this. So really the point here is we're operating a separate standalone plan for a very small number of people. The specific numbers are 264 total employees, which is less than 1% of CGIP's overall membership. And within the two compensation plans for which we're required to offer it, only 89 employees enroll. So what we're trying to do here is we're devoting a significant amount of staff time and resources to administering, making the annual required changes, member communications, all that, for a really small proportion of our members. And so we would like to be able to create additional efficiencies in running our plan by having the option to not offer that very minimally enrolled plan anymore.
Senator Drazkowski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the other plans don't have this, is what you're saying. Is that what you said earlier?
Mr. Benchoff?
Madam Chair, Senator Drazkowski, collective bargaining agreements do not authorize represented employees to enroll in the high deductible plan.
Senator Drazkowski?
So, Madam Chair, so what does it, do you know what it, I don't see any fiscal note for this bill either. You would think it sounded like you could get rid of an FTE or two if this passes. We should actually see a savings to the state. I'm not seeing that in a fiscal note here. What type of savings could you experience as an agency if indeed this goes into law?
Mr. Benchoff?
Madam Chair, Senator Drazkowski, we would estimate somewhere in the tens of thousands. I don't know how many tens exactly, but there'd be some sort of savings from no longer devoting staff time to administering this separate plan.
Senator Drazkowski?
So, Madam Chair, you know, if it's $10,000, I think of that one employee who might save tens of thousands of dollars by having that option to have the high deductible plan. And you said there's 238 or something like that, and of that 89 that would benefit from this. That's a lot of people that could save money doing this. I don't know that we're serving the people by going this direction. We're instead apparently serving the agency. Or maybe is it simply the unions in the other compensation categories don't want this to happen in this one either? I don't know. If that's the case, that's not right. If this doesn't have the restrictions of collective bargaining in this compensation area, I think we should offer that option to people and continue to do so. For $10,000, we've got $9 billion of fraud, Mr. Chair or Madam Chair, going on here in this government. And I'm kind of frustrated we're not seeing more anti-fraud bills like you, Madam Chair, have brought, and I have brought a bunch, and Senator Curran and Senator Barr and others have brought them, and we should be entertaining those bills and trying to fix this gigantic problem we have in government. Instead, we have a bill before us that is costing the agency about $10,000 to offer opportunities for who knows how many thousands of dollars or millions of dollars of savings in their personal categories as employees by having this option. This seems to not make sense to go this direction. It seems that we need to continue to offer this to these employees, nearly 100 employees, who very likely can save a pile of money by doing this.
Mr. Benshoff?
Madam Chair, Senator Duskowski, just to clarify, the savings we would estimate to be in the tens, not 10,000, but somewhere in five figures. It could be significantly higher than that, depending on the year. And the second point I just want to make here is this provision does not prohibit us offering the plan. It simply gives us the ability, as we assess the efficiencies of our program moving forward, to make that determination, but it doesn't disallow us from being able to offer the plan.
Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, so you're saying trust us. So we're here representing the people. And in this case, the people we're trying to represent are the people that are the employees that want to continue to have this option. And there's nearly 100 of them. So even if it's 20,000 or 30,000, in the face of all the potential money that these people could be saving in premiums with their high deductible plan, if it works for them, instead we're going to force them to pay more and more and more. And I can't see how it's not going to be much, much, much more than the $20,000 or $30,000. Madam Chair, I would move to amend the bill by striking Section 2.
Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. We're going to go to Ms. James to explain the changes that would be voted on.
Madam Chair and members, the motion would be on page 2 to delete section 2.
Senator Barr?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think that actually cleans the bill up, because what we have before us is a bill that started off with fixing the rounding and cash transactions, and then we added in a benefit program with health insurance. So last time I checked, the Constitution said single subject, and I can't see even on these 2 pages how rounding cash transactions has anything to do with health pharmaceutical benefits that the state offers through CGIP. So I would actually think this should be 2 separate bills. You know, the HHS piece could be put in the HHS committee and they can act on that appropriately or whatnot, because that's a HHS thing, and we can deal with pennies over here. I would recommend a yes vote on the amendment. Thank you.
Senator Xiong?
Members, I encourage a no vote. We are working through this together to get this bill passed. Senator Barr, I think it's, we're going off custom of the body, and so we're trying to get stuff in before our time here ends, and so we can have that discussion with leadership about having the single subject bills, but I encourage no vote on the amendment and to get this bill through. And vote.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. All right. All right, we're just going to describe it quick. To the oral amendment, which would strike section 2. We'll do the roll call.
Senator Xiong,
No.
Vice Chair Gustafson,
No.
Vice Chair McQuaid,
No.
Lead Lang,
Aye.
Senator Barr,
Aye.
Senator Złotzinski, Senator Dreskowski,
Aye.
Senator Fateh, excused, Senator Hemmingson Jaeger,
No.
Senator Johnson Stewart,
No.
Senator Corian,
Yes.
Senator Matthews. Madam Chair, there are 6 noes and 5 ayes.
All right, members, any other questions or comments? Oh, sorry, the results are 6 noes, 5 ayes. The amendment is not adopted. Okay, members, any other questions or comments? Okay. Seeing no further discussion, Senator Xiong moves SF 4932 as amended be recommended to pass and be placed on general orders. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The motion prevails. Senate File 4932 as amended is recommended to place on general orders.
Thank you, guys.
Senator Xiong, to your Senate File 4059.
Members, today we have the Senate, state, and local government budget bill before us as, that will be amended by the A3 amendment, the DE.
Senator Xiong, would you like to move the A3 amendment?
I'd like to move the A3 amendment.
Senator Xiong moves the A3 amendment. This is not an author's amendment. Senator Xiong, to your amendment.
Yeah, so the bill as, the DE amendment is fairly,
Senator Xiong, I
yes.
apologize. This is an author's amendment.
Oh, okay.
I was
Okay.
looking at all the actions of adding,
well, I could, yeah.
but yeah, if you want to walk through it, go ahead.
Yeah, so Article 1, it includes appropriations for the legislature to support ongoing security measures, added FTEs to the Attorney General's Medicaid Fraud Control Unit, which we heard prior, grants to public television stations, and the Capitol Mall Design Framework for a memorial to Speaker Emerita Melissa Hartman. And with respect to the Attorney General's office, we are carrying the appropriation only, as funding for that office falls within the jurisdiction of this committee. This funding supports additional FTEs while related policy provisions are moving separately. Article 2 includes provisions related to the Board of Barbers to reduce regulatory burdens on those seeking to become registered barbers, along with recommendations from the Office of the Legislative Auditors, 2021 evaluation of the Board of Cosmetology Licensing. And I think they are also here to answer questions. And then there's Article 3, which includes updates to the Board of Cosmetologists, examiners, including policy and technical changes. And then with that, I can turn over to council to make sure I'm not missing anything. And we can go to members. Or I don't know if you want to vote on the amendment or not.
Mr. Erickson, if there's anything that was missed?
Madam Chair, I don't think there's anything that's missed. I can walk through the spreadsheet if that's helpful to the committee, but if not, it is in your packets, and it describes the changes that Senator Xiong just walked through. The amounts would be more specific, but I think he described the purposes.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson. Members, any questions on the A3 before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The A3 is adopted. Senator Xiong, anything else you want to say about your bill before we have, did you have testifiers?
No.
No, okay. Anything you want to say about your bill before we go to other actions
No,
by the
it's,
committee?
sorry, it's not as big as the other previous bill I've had, but, we have a few major provisions that we try to work on, and, hope to get your support to move this on.
Members of the committee. Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have the A5 amendment.
Senator Gustafson has the A5 amendment. It is in your packets. Senator Gustafson to your A5.
The A5, thank you, Madam Chair. The A5 inserts the establishment of the payroll reporting portal into this bill.
Okay. Member, Senator Xiong to the A5.
Yes, and I would be in favor of that.
Member comments? Senator Graham.
Madam Chair, thank you, and Senator Gustafson, I read through the A5. It doesn't look like it has any accommodation as it relates to the employee and for employee data being public or not public.
Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Cran. You're going to really like A6, so stay tuned.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you,
Senator
Senator
Cran.
Gustafson. That will eliminate my need for the A7. So, thank you.
How efficient. All right. Any other comments on the A5? All right. All those in favor of the A5 amendment, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The A5 is adopted. Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have the A6 amendment.
Senator Gustafson moves the A6 amendment. Senator Gustafson to your A6.
So the A6 amendment amends the A5 to explicitly align it with existing data practices law.
And Senator Gustafson, do we have this in our packets?
Madam Chair, I don't, oh, some people do. They should, yes.
For those who don't, we'll get it passed out quickly. Senator Xiong to the A6 while we wait for that.
Yep, I would encourage members to vote yes on it.
Pass it to me, please.
Madam Chair, I can describe the amendment if that's helpful while it's being passed out.
Yeah, Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So as we talked about last week in committee, the bill does not change or expand any existing reporting requirements under current law. So this amendment before you just simply aligns the bill with existing data practices law. We listened to people's concerns last week. We also want to thank DLI for providing technical assistance with the amendment, and then just continue to work with state agencies and stakeholders to ensure that the bill will improve but not change the collection or retention of already current required information. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Gustafson.
Madam Chair.
Senator Cran.
Could we get from council the difference between the two? They may have A7. It just says in the A6, except the employee's name. What other information then would be available by that employee under the A6?
Ms. James. Or is it Mr. Erickson? Ms. James, yes.
Madam Chair and members, I'm not sure what all data is collected under 177.30, paragraph A, clause 6, but I will look right now. The A6 only precludes or takes the employee's name out of what is posted on the reporting portal. The A7 makes that all information under 177.30, paragraph A, clause 6, private data. It classifies it. So it then becomes, yeah, private data.
Senator Cran.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Council. Because I think I think we need to be of greater clarity at the employee data. Again, not changing any reporting requirement, just as the intent was. But that doesn't sound. It sounds like the A7 is more thorough and easier to understand from the perspective of all employee data is not public data. The detailed information, or there is no detailed information that needs to be available publicly. The employer, the contractor, right, the dollar amounts that are spent under the contract, that's all good if we want to make that public. But from a regulatory perspective, still is no need to have anything. If we just eliminate the name, there's still other detailed information that is unnecessary for us to maintain the regulatory oversight within Dolly for prevailing wage. So I would say we should move, not accept the A6 and accept the A7, which you haven't seen yet.
Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I still think the A6 is better, but let me explain why. Under current law, the following data maintained as a result of contractual relationships entered on or after August 1st, 2012 between government entity and contractor, subcontractor. It's a lot of words, but basically these things are currently private. The personal telephone number, home address, and email address of a current or former employee of a contractor or subcontractor. So we are not changing any of that existing privacy. We're just putting it in here.
Senator Cran.
Madam Chair, Senator Gustafson, the details, the name, or the phone number and those things are also deemed not public data and will not be published? Okay, I think we can live with that then.
Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. What about the employer's name?
Senator Gustafson.
Madam Chair, we're just focused on what this portal would cover, so I don't know. Can I get back to you, Senator Drazkowski?
Senator Cran.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator Gustafson, will the employee detailed wages be available publicly based on your amendment? The itemized individual wages, if we withhold the personal contact information, are those wages then under your amendment, would they then be viewable publicly by the employee on a per employee basis? I'm not opposed to the contractor, that they should have the collective total hours spent on a weekly, that's fine. But I want to know if the individual wage details are going to be available, even unidentified by an individual. Would that wage detail still be deemed public data under your amendment?
Senator Gustafson.
So the public portal that goes in, sorry, Madam Chair, thank you, Madam Chair. The public portal is going to report those things right into universe, and that includes the wage. So I don't know if that's your question, but that's essentially the heart of the bill, right, is to make sure that those prevailing wages are all in a uniform spot.
Yeah.
Senator
Madam Chair?
Cran.
Yeah, and Senator Gustafson, absolutely. I don't want to change anything with we got to report everything, same schedule, right? Everything collected. It's about then that portion which is deemed public data on that individual employee wage, right? The name, address, the wage details are also unnecessary to be viewable publicly outside of an aggregate amount for the business itself, and full disclosure of the business that's contracting. They're the ones the reason this exists that they're in compliance with our prevailing wage laws. So I want to note is all that itemized detail outside the personal identifying information under your bill still deemed public data.
Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator Cran. So I guess all of that is currently public, right? It's just up to a data request. This would, you're asking about itemized wages. I'm unsure about that, but any of those wages that fall under the public contractors or subcontractors that are already being reported is already currently available. This doesn't change that. So I hope I'm answering your question. I'm going to guess it doesn't, but we will continue to talk.
Madam Chair and Senator Gustafson, yes, you answered the question, and exactly as I thought it would be, is that, yes, that detail, even removing the personally identifying information, yes, it is deemed public data today. Now that we're centralizing it and removing the need for a FOIA request or public data request, it is unnecessary, again, the business case hasn't been made, from a regulatory perspective to make that individual wage available. And the only reason that would have to be available, and hopefully you'll receive communication before this gets on the floor, but I think the trades and the labor unions are in favor of this, are agreeable. And so with that then, the nonprofit that was up here testifying with you who goes out there to scan, and likely the only reason that information should be available is to go out and be the whistleblower for the regulatory body who now has all the information they need in a centralized, consolidated environment and in a format in which they can provide a much higher automated level of oversight and regulatory perspective, fair and fair. That's all it is. it goes back to, there's no reason for that public exposure of that data unless it's to continually allow an entity like the nonprofit that was testifying to go out and attack merit shops because of their understanding or their opinion relative to having all of the data. Our regulatory bodies will have everything. So I think we're far better shape. I still don't think there's a business case for that, except for the scenario which I just described, which created an entire nonprofit entity to go do that. So I still think that data should be deemed not public data from a public within the portal. The agency gets everything they need. So that's the difference, I think, between the two amendments. Removing just the name, I think, does little, gives a little privacy protection, but the details are also would still be allowed to fuel that other element, which is an unfair practice. If they're all in compliance with the right merit shops and or union shops, our job is to make sure they're all in compliance. This, having it public, does not allow that to be a fair system. Thank you.
Senator Gustafson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Cran, I don't think we're that far apart on our thinking on this. The only thing I would say, because you brought up like what would be the point of it too, in just last week alone, talking with all of the trades and contractors that I spoke with, one of the things that they pointed out is that they can then go on the portal and look too to make sure they are being paid fairly across the board for multiple contracts that they might be dealing with. And it's also a fairness for them as well. So I don't want to take that away from them. And if we can make that a little bit easier to make sure that those contractors are getting paid what they deserve, I don't want to get in the way of that. So that would be the reasoning that we didn't get to mention last week.
Thank you, Senator Gustafson. Senator Xiong, anything to add?
This is, Senator Gustafson had worked on this with the interested parties, and so I'd go with what her recommendations are.
All right. Any more member discussion on the A6? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The A6 is adopted. Members, further discussion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move the A7.
Okay, Senator Cran moves the A7.
The A7 to the DE amendment. So the A7, I think we just had the debate and dialogue. So it just makes it non-public data. So for the individual, Senator Gustafson, that new piece of information on how we could make that available from a regulatory or from a management perspective, I'd be interested in walking through that as well and coming to some resolution. I'd still like to move forward and encourage a yes vote for the A7 amendment.
Okay, Senator Xiong to the A7.
I think Senator Gustafson gave a pretty good response to that already, and so I'll go with her recommendations.
Senator Gustafson to the A7.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think on this, we've worked really hard meeting with people on the A6. As of right now, I would like to just stick with the A6, knowing that we can still continue to have discussions, but I don't know that the A7 is the direction that we want to go right now.
Madam Chair, request a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. Senator Cran, any final thoughts on your A7 before we take the roll?
No, Madam Chair.
Okay. To the A7, clerk will take the roll.
Chair McQuaid?
No.
Senator Xiong?
No.
Vice Chair Gustafson?
No.
Lead Lang?
Aye.
Senator Barr?
Aye.
Senator Zwadzinski? No. Senator Drazkowski?
Aye.
Senator Fateh excused. Senator Hemmingson Yeager?
No.
Senator Johnson Stewart?
No.
Senator Coran?
Yes.
Senator Matthews? Madam Chair, there are 6 noes and 5 ayes.
With there being 6 noes and 5 ayes, the amendment is not adopted. Any other discussion on Senate File 4059 as amended? Senator Xiong, to your amended bill.
Yeah, thank you, members, for sticking with me on this one. This is our one of my final bills for this committee, and so I encourage a yes vote on the bill. Thank you, Senator Gustafson, for working on this, and Johnson Stewart for working on getting groups together to get agreement on the Medicaid fraud portions of it, and so I'd encourage members for a yes vote.
Madam Chair, request a roll call.
Roll call requested, roll call granted. All right, Senator Xiong moves Senate File 4059 as amended be recommended to pass and be referred to the Committee on Finance. Clerk will take the roll.
Chair McQuaid,
Aye.
Vice Chair Gustafson,
Aye.
Senator Xiong,
Yes.
Lead Lang,
No.
Senator Barr,
No.
Senator Swedzinski,
Yes.
Senator Driscowski,
No.
Senator Fateh excused, Senator Hemmingson Yeager,
Aye.
Senator Johnson Stewart,
Yes.
Senator Corian,
No.
Senator Matthews. Madam Chair, there are 6 ayes and 5 noes.
With there being 6 ayes and 5 noes, Senate File 4059 as amended is sent to Finance. Thank you, Senator Xiong. All right, Senator Xiong is going to make his way back to the table, and we are going to hear an informational hearing on Senate File 5088, which is the Governor's Supplemental Budget recommendations. If Assistant Commissioner Moore and Assistant Commissioner Burton would like to make their way to the table. While our testifiers come up, Senator Johnson Stewart, do you have a motion? Do you motion to reconsider Senate File 2321?
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion to reconsider Senate File 2231, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay. We are reconsidering Senate File 2321. Am I getting
Yep.
that right? Okay, great. Oh, Senator Xiong, you're back. Great. Yay.
Sorry, I sent it to the wrong committee, and so
Yep.
we're reconsidering it.
Thank
Send
you.
it to capital investment. instead.
Correct.
And so, Senator Johnson Stewart moves to send Senate File 2321 to capital investment as amended, with recommendations to pass. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed say no. The motion prevails.
Thank you,
All
members.
right. Thank you. All right, welcome to State and Local Government Committee. We can start with the testimony. Whoever's ready, you may please state your name and you may begin.
Thank you, Chair Xiong and members of the committee. Again, for the record, Paul Moore, Assistant Commissioner of Accounting Services at Minnesota Management and Budget. Appreciate the opportunity to talk about the MMB provision in the governor's supplemental budget recommendations. And first wanted to note that Article 1, Section 5 and Section 13 of this bill was just heard in this committee today. That language was in Senate File 4932. So we'll instead now turn to the additional MMB provision that's in Section 4 of Article 1. The governor has proposed a comprehensive fraud response package to prevent, detect, investigate, and hold accountable those who have committed fraud against the state's programs. One of those proposals is aimed at increasing oversight of state government's internal controls. And it provides 15 FTE for statewide internal control specialists and internal auditors contained within MMB's accounting services division that I lead. This staffing capacity will allow MMB to take more active role with state agencies in designing and implementing their corrective action plans and other internal control improvements within their operations, and that would include the implementation of Office of Legislative Auditor audit recommendations. It's also going to allow MMB to deploy internal auditors to go in and provide independent assurance to test the operating effectiveness of agencies' internal controls and their corrective action plans. Director of Program Integrity Tim O'Malley, in his recently released report titled the Program Integrity Roadmap, contained Pillar 9, and that pillar had a consistent recommendation to expand MMB's oversight and verification capacity, including the deployment of internal auditors. This work has also been discussed in this committee recently. As you all heard, Senate File 39 authored by Senator Rest, and that addresses OLA audit recommendations and provides additional direction to MMB to assist agencies in their implementation of OLA audit recommendations. I'd like to hand it over now to Assistant Commissioner Burton.
Thank you.
All right, Assistant Commissioner, please state your name for the record. Thank you for joining us, and you may begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Xiong and members of the committee. My name is Martha Burton, and I'm an Assistant Commissioner with the Department of Revenue. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the Governor's supplemental budget, and in particular, Article 1, Section 5 of Fraud Prevention and Enforcement Capacity. This section includes $1.839 million in FY27, $2.786 million in FY28, and $2.725 million in FY29 to expand the Department of Revenue's fraud prevention and enforcement capacity. This investment will strengthen Revenue's ability to prevent, detect, and prosecute tax fraud, protect taxpayer dollars, and uphold a fair and accountable tax system. Thank you.
Thank you for the testimony, and with that, members, any questions or comments to the testifier? Senator Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the effort towards fraud prevention. There is one thing that did get brought up, and I know this is just informational, but maybe a question when it deals on page 7, subdivision 15, grant recipients and the naming of grant recipients. That is problematic for some pretty good groups that are named in statute as of right now, and specifically to speaking like hometown heroes. All of a sudden that puts those folks in a, so before this was to hit the presses anywhere, maybe we should look at some additional language within that section to clarify exactly what is the intent.
Would you like is that a question?
Yeah.
For a testifier? Commissioners?
Or comment.
Or maybe staff might be able to provide?
Chair Xiong
insight?
would invite a colleague from Department of Administration to address that provision.
Welcome, State Local Gov. Please state your name and you may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Stacy Christensen. I'm Deputy Commissioner of the Department of Administration. This particular provision in the Governor's supplemental budget related to legislatively named grants, it has been a recommendation from the Office of the Legislative Auditor for a number of years, and was also recommended to the Governor by the Office of Inspector General Coordinating Council. To, you know, in terms of best practices, making grants go through the competitive process. So that is where this is coming from to eliminate some of the conflict of interest potential.
Senator Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay. I guess that probably presents somewhat of a problem when it comes to the legislature, and, you know, historically awarding grants to named entities is something that we do fairly often. Make it into a competitive grant process on an overall overreaching scope could be an issue for us.
I agree.
OLA or not OLA.
Members, any questions or comments? Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Moore, you know, you talked about Section 4 of the bill, so what's proposed here by the governor is he wants another $2.301 million to go after fraud. So let's review. We've got Feeding Our Future, Department of Education, $300 million of federal money that's supposed to be administered by this government. How many people in the Department of Education lost their job because of that?
Senator Drazkowski, is that a question for?
That was for Mr. Moore.
Commissioner?
Chair Xiong, Senator Drazkowski, I am not the correct person to ask to respond to that question, would need the Department of Education represented or leadership from the Enterprise Employee Resources area at Minnesota Management Budget.
Senator Drazkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Moore, it's projected that there's $9 billion of fraud leaving 14 Medicaid programs that are administered by the state government. How many people have lost their job due to that $9 billion of fraud that's projected, much of it which is known and accounted for already?
Senator Drazkowski, is this a question to the testifier?
For Mr. Moore, Mr. Chair.
Senator Drazkowski, I hope that we can focus on the substance of the bill.
We are,
I think
Mr. Chair,
that's
section
outside of the
4 of the
scope.
bill, Mr. Chair.
I think that's outside of the scope of the bill, but I'd let you take the, a moment to make your statement.
Well, Mr. Chair, we have people from MMB here. They oversee the fiscal operations of government and interact with all of the agencies. We have an appropriation here to give Governor Walz and his bureaucracy $2.301 million under Section 4 of the bill. I understand Section 5 of the bill. I've talked to the Commissioner of the Department of Revenue. I think they are doing a responsible job there. They haven't had any fraud issues come up, but they are acting proactively in that agency, so I appreciate that work. I don't know if this amount in Section 5 of the bill is the right amount for them. Evidently, it must be if that's what they're asking for, to continue to keep fraud out of our Department of Revenue and our tax system, so I appreciate that. But we have widespread fraud in this government, Mr. Chair, and I'm just curious, Mr. Moore, how many people have lost their job due to the 14 different Medicaid programs that are leaking the taxpayers' money out the tailpipe of the car onto the pavement, rolling into the ditch here in Minnesota?
Commissioner Moore.
Chair Xiong and Senator Drazkowski, as I had mentioned earlier, I appreciate the question. I'm not in a position to speak to that here right now. I don't have an answer for you. It would be better directed to the specific agencies or MMB's Enterprise Employee Resources Division.
Senator Drazkowski.
So, Mr. Chair, nobody's got answers. The governor doesn't have answers. Maybe we need the governor here, Mr. Chair. Of course, he was before Congress and he didn't provide any answers there either. It's always the runaround. The people of Minnesota want some accountability here. This is a proposal to take more tax money from the people of Minnesota to supposedly address fraud when this has been going on for 10 years in this state, certainly intensively in the last 5 or 6 years in this state. We got the Behavioral Health Administration in the Department of Human Services here in the state of Minnesota that in an audit, do you know how they responded, Mr. Chair, to the auditor? Well, you do. The auditor said, give us the data of what happened here, and the government came forward and said, oh, let me go get it. And they manufactured data, Mr. Chair. They manufactured documents out of thin air, and they gave them the legislative auditor and lied to them. This is what we have going on before us. So my frustration and my trouble with this appropriation in the bill in Section 4, Mr. Chair, is that we have a government led by a governor and his people in the agencies that aren't doing squat. They're doing nothing to control fraud in this state. And then they're coming forward and say, if we're going to control fraud, we need more money from the taxpayers. The taxpayers have timed out on this, Mr. Chair. We shouldn't be putting this appropriation in the bill. We need this government to start performing for the people of Minnesota, and it has not. And when asked how many employees, we're talking about billions and billions and billions of the people's money that are rolling out the tailpipe onto the pavement and into the ditch. And not one person has lost their job in this government. Not one piece of accountability. So what is there in this bill or in the discussion or in anything that the government can represent to us when they come before the committee here that is actually going to say, we have accountability, the buck is stopping somewhere? Because it's not. It's not stopping with the governor. We're hearing from MMB, well, I don't know. You got to bring education here. You got to bring human services here. You got to bring somebody else here because I don't know. That's what the government tells us, but they want another $2.3 million, Mr. Chair. And so they've asked for it, and you put it in the bill, and now Democrats are going to pass this bill and give them another $2.3 million when they haven't demonstrated one iota of responsibility, one iota of accountability in this government for fraud. We got an attorney general that's asking for more money, and it's in the other bill that we just passed. He hasn't prosecuted squat either. It's all been the federal government that's doing the prosecutions, all of them. Not one person's been convicted by this attorney general, not one. And this is a bill we have before us. So that's my frustration, Mr. Chair. I think we need to send this one back to the drawing board. I would move to delete section 4 from the bill, Mr. Chair. Ask for roll call.
Senator Drazkowski, it's informational.
Can we just go through the exercise anyway, Mr. Chair? It would really be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Drazkowski. Any other members, questions or comments to the commissioners? Thank you, commissioners. Any concluding remarks? Well, with that, thank you for taking the time to be here with us and presenting the governor's proposals, recommendations. Thank you. And then next up, we have the informational hearing, Senate file, the information to local news and civic information. I know that they were here for our last meeting. We couldn't get to them, but they came back again. Welcome back, Senator Susan Kent. Sorry, please state your name for the record and you may begin with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Susan Kent. I'm a former state senator. It is really good to be here with you today. I am also the board chair and the co-founder of the Woodbury NewsNet. We are a new nonprofit digital local news outlet that began publishing about 1.5 years ago after our newspaper was closed by a non-local owner. We're a member of the True North News Alliance, and I'm here today in that capacity. I want to start off with one very critical point. Local news is vitally important to keep people informed, connected, and engaged in their communities. Today, we will briefly share what we've heard across Minnesota and what it could mean moving forward. The True North News Alliance brings together media organizations, business and civic leaders, educators, and community partners from across the state. We share the belief that local news connects communities to the decisions that affect daily life and support civic participation. When local news weakens, communities lose connection to the information and institutions they rely on. Much of what we know comes directly from Minnesotans themselves. To share what we've heard, I'll hand it over to Anais.
Chair and members, my name is Annie Froberg-Martinez, and I'm a youth board member with 360 Journalism at St. Thomas University. It is a program that equips high school students to tell stories and think critically. The Alliance's work is grounded in 8 listening sessions held across Minnesota in 2025 and early 2026, from Bemidji to Winona to the Twin Cities, including a youth-focused session that I attended. Across those conversations, the Alliance heard a consistent message. Communities are experiencing less local coverage and fewer resources to support it. In Greater Minnesota, this often showed up as challenges recruiting and retaining local talent. In the Metro, people voiced concerns about maintaining representative, trusted coverage. Across regions, Capacity is shrinking while demand for local information remains high. Senator Kent will share the data behind what we heard.
Ms. Is it Froberg Martinez, are you a student?
Yeah.
What school?
Perpich Center for Arts Education.
Perpich, all right. Senator Kent or Susan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are seeing significant and measurable changes in news access across the state, which I think comes as no surprise to anybody. And you, Mr. Chair, since we represented the same communities, are really familiar with the toll that it has taken. Since 2018, 97 local news outlets in Minnesota have closed, most of them print. Closures are happening faster than new startups are being created. More than half of all Minnesota communities no longer have a dedicated local news source, and you've likely experienced this in your own communities. And outlets that change ownership are significantly more likely to close. This was the case in Woodbury and for so many other communities. What this looks like for Minnesotans is fewer consistent sources of local information, reduced visibility into our schools, budgets, local elections and community issues, and less community-specific coverage. Over time, this increases reliance on sources that lack journalistic credibility, such as social media, and local context. And it affects how residents engage with public safety, local government, and services. At the same time, the system is evolving and new outlets are emerging to fill local gaps. Minnesota still has a vibrant media ecosystem. Hundreds of newspapers, radio stations, TV stations, digital news, independent journalists, nonprofit and for-profit newsrooms exist across the state. We want to make it clear that we do not have an audience problem. Minnesotans love local news. They love to know what's going on in their communities. We have a problem with how revenue models have changed in ways that are frankly unsustainable. We see a tremendous opportunity here, and that's why we're here in front of you today. Other states are beginning to align public resources and policy with local information access, and Minnesota is a perfect place to build on these approaches. These are early signals of where the information system can be strengthened, and Charlie Weaver will provide additional details.
Welcome to State Local Gov Committee. Mr. Weaver, please state your name for the record and you may begin.
Chair and members, I'm Charlie Weaver, and I'm with the Metro Nonprofit News Network. I'm also the Executive Director and co-publisher of the Minnesota Daily at the University of Minnesota, Twin Cities. Across the country, other states are exploring a range of policy approaches to support local news and civic information systems. These generally fall into 4 categories: public funding streams, workforce development, incentive models, and government and accountability tools. Most states are layering multiple approaches rather than relying on a single solution. These reflect different ways to address workforce, access, and sustainability challenges within this system. Examples of approaches that have been discussed include directing a portion of government advertising to local outlets in a bill introduced in 2025, offsetting the cost of employing local journalists with a 2026 bill to create statewide internship program, which would help students like Anais and the students that I represent from the Minnesota Daily. Supporting media literacy with a 2026 high school civic seal bill, and a payroll tax credit for outlets and journalists, and targeting resources to underserved and rural communities. If we can leave you with one thing, it's that local news is not just an industry, it's part of how communities stay informed, connected, and engaged. What we've shared today reflects an evolving system with promising models, emerging technologies, but there are gaps that still remain. The next step is implementing these approaches in Minnesota. Both the Civic Seal and the local news talent pipeline bills have bipartisan support. Please consider signing onto these bills if you have not already done so. And please consider partnering with us to author future bills that will support local news. Thank you. We're happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you for taking the time to join us today. Members, any questions or comments to the testifier? Senator Swedzinski.
What does 360 stand for? Thank you, Mr. Chair, sorry.
To the testifier.
I would say Senator Kwasinski, that 360 definitely stands for educating Minnesota youth on journalism and also critically analyzing that journalism too, not just writing it or broadcasting it, and also using it to build community and bridge building, I suppose.
Senator Kwasinski.
Thank you. And I thank you, all of you, for coming back again. I know last time you endured an entire committee hearing, and so you came back. So thank you for that. And I just want to thank you for all the work you've done over the last few years. And I know for my community, Eden Prairie's worked really hard with you guys and well. And in one of my elections, I think 2020, we just had lost our local newspaper. And I don't know how challengers can run against an incumbent without the local newspaper. And they can't run ads, they can't have letters to the editor, and how are we going to have a thriving democracy when incumbents don't have challengers with the means to run an effective campaign? So thank you for the role you play in democracy amongst all the other arguments you gave in your testimony. So thank you.
Senator Hemmingson Yeager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you. I just want to express my gratitude and just thank you for coming and thank you for working on this. You know, Woodbury is the 7th biggest city in the state, and to not have some sort of local news outlet would be terrible. And we have a lot going on in Woodbury, and I've already noticed just the amount of engagement in our citizens, the amount of information people are experiencing, and then the opportunity for kids and high schoolers and professionals to have another outlet to get experience and to get more involved in the community. So I just want to say thank you so much for the work, and I look forward to continuing to support it.
Yes, and any other questions or comments? Well, I had a question. So does it relate mostly to just print news, or do you do like social media? I know there's South Washington County Television there, so.
Mr. Chair, thank you. That's a great question. The True North News Alliance represents all facets of local news. And so that is broadcast, that is print, that is digital, that is for-profit, it is nonprofit. It is sustaining the venues that we already have, but it's also trying to fill in the gaps, as we've seen in a bunch of our communities. I would share a quick story, if I may, from Eden Prairie. Eden Prairie and Woodbury lost their papers at about the exact same time, but it took us a few years to get ours up and running, and they were an incredible resource in helping us. And so every morning I wake up and I check my email and I see, and Senator Swedzinski can vouch for me because I routinely text him about things I've read in the Eden Prairie local news. But I remember one time they did beautiful coverage of a town hall from the state legislators in Eden Prairie. And where does anybody get that level of detail of what is being talked about at the state level in their local communities? And that is what we're missing now. And I was in office for 10 years, and we had 4 news outlets in my communities when I started, and they were all gone by the time I left office. And I felt that difference in talking to my constituents. They just weren't aware of what was happening, or they were getting mixed information from social media. So it has been a privilege to be a part of this, not only in my community, but to work with a whole bunch of people like the True North News Alliance in really trying to elevate this incredibly important resource in all our communities across the state.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you all for taking the time to join us, and I hope to read more about the news you guys are publishing. All right, thank you. And next up, our final informational hearings on Senate File 4415. Senator Clark. Thank you, Senator Clark. Whenever you're ready, you may proceed with presentation of your bill.
Thank you, Chair, and esteemed Committee on State and Local Government. Thank you for having us here today. I bring you Senate File 4415 to discuss a Council on Central and Eastern European Affairs. As the Chair said, this hearing is information, not acting on the bill today. Just to provide an overview of the proposal, hear from a testifier, and allow for your questions. Minnesota is home to a growing and vibrant Central and Eastern European community, contributing to our state's economy, culture, and global connections. Despite this strong presence, there is currently no formal state structure to engage these communities in a coordinated and sustained way. This bill proposes the creation of the Minnesota Council on Central and Eastern European Affairs, modeled after existing and successful ethnic councils in our state. Council's charge would be fourfold: advise the governor and the legislature, support civic engagement, strengthen economic and workforce contributions, and promote cultural understanding and community integration. At this time of global instability in Eastern Europe, Minnesota has seen increased humanitarian engagement and new arrivals, making this initiative both timely and necessary. This is an inclusive, forward-looking effort that strengthens Minnesota's ability to serve all its communities while advancing economic and civic priorities. To provide more detail on the purpose, structure, and community support, especially in Northeast Minneapolis on this proposal, I'd like to invite Dr. Michalomigetz, who's been helping with this initiative, to present, if you'll have it.
Thank you very much, Senator.
Doctor, welcome to the State Local Government Committee. Please state your name for the record and you may begin.
My name is Michalomigetz. Dear Chair Xiong, members of this respected committee, my name is Michalomigetz and I am the coalition lead for this initiative and proud member of Minnesota Central and Eastern European Community with Ukrainian heritage. And on behalf of over 20 communities, organizations, and businesses, ethnic businesses, I respectfully ask for your support in creating the Council on Central and Eastern European Affairs. Our community, nearly 450,000 strong, 450,000, almost 500,000, represent a vibrant part of Minnesota heritage, and Polish, Ukrainian, Czech, Romanian, Lithuanian, and many others Minnesota ethnic groups have contributed to our state economy and civic life for over 150 years. We are entrepreneurs, healthcare workers, educators, and public servants. However, as Senator mentioned, today there is no formal structure to consistently engage these communities with the state government. As a result, Minnesota is missing opportunity to better support workforce integration, business development, and civic participation. Existing ethnic councils like Latino Affairs, African Heritage, and Asia Pacific have proven that this model works, and our communities deserve the same seat at the table. If established, this council would address the gap. Specifically, it would serve as an advisory body to the governor, legislature, the state agency in helping workforce development, support immigrant entrepreneurship, promote culturally responsive services, and especially for refugees population by moving them from welfare to the productive forces of Minnesota. The timing is also important for us. Ongoing development in Eastern Europe with current war in Ukraine that brought to Minnesota over 4,000 refugees from Ukraine. They need help. They need the organizations that represent them in Minnesota that not only represent, but help them to move to, as I mentioned before, to productive workforces. The proposed budget, just $700,000, like others, similar to other ethnic councils, is modest and consistent with those councils, but the impact will be meaningful. For this reason, I respectfully ask you to support this legislation, which is practical, forward-looking step to reinforce a state global connected future. Thank you for your leadership, for your support and consideration.
All right, thank you, Senator Clark, for working on this. And I know it's late in the committee hearing, but you know, I heard from someone that there's Ukrainian refugees in all 87 counties. Is that correct? I don't know.
They all around the Minnesota, I actually have a list I can share with your committee later.
And then I think I asked this in committee, so like for some of the other councils, like the Asian Council, they have geographic parameters, so like the Asian Council, it's Afghanistan and everything east of that will be part of the Asian Council. So the Central European and as an Eastern European Council, what countries would that encompass?
Thank you, Chair Xiong. So Central and Eastern European is typically defined as the following countries, and it's what I've included in Senate File 4415. Croatia, the Czech Republic, Estonia, Hungary, Kosovo, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, Poland, Russia, Romania, Serbia, Slovakia, Slovenia, and Ukraine, obviously, which is having the war at this time.
Okay, thank you for that. Members, any other questions or comments to Senator Clark or the testifier? All right, with that, thank you for the testimony, and Doctor, I hope to see you soon. And thank you, Senator Clark, for
Thank you for your indulgence.
And then members, hopefully, this will be the last state and local gov committee for this year, and it will hopefully be my last state gov committee that we have to meet. But I know I'm not the only one that will be leaving the legislature this year. So good luck to you. Godspeed to Senator Drazkowski, to you. And, you know, it's been a privilege to be on this committee. I know Senator Lang had to go to another engagement, but he and we both came in this together as co-chairs. And I remember when I was in the other body, I came in to watch a bill that I was trying to push. And, you know, I know this was the committee that everybody told me to fear when I was in the other body. And so now I'm here, and it's my last committee. And I'm pretty sure when I came in, I saw Senator Coran yelling at somebody. And so put the
It's out of character for me.
put the welcome to the state legislature moment for me. And so it's been a privilege, and so I hope to continue working on us finishing out this committee work. I thank you all for all your commitment to this body and to the work that we do here. I know that the work that you all do is not easy. The questions you get asked in your committees, your communities are difficult, and so I hope you all stay safe to continue doing the great work and making a big difference for our state. And not only am I leaving, but my CA, Michaela, will be leaving in May. And so there will be a lot of changes going on, but I think all for the better. And so with that, I'd like to thank the nonpartisan staff and the two vice chairs, Senator Gustafson, Senator May Quaid, Ms. James, with the all the last minute requests that we send over to you. I'm gonna get the whole list. I don't want to miss anybody. And so, Ms. James, we have Sebastian, my LA, Michaela, Haley Bloom, the DFL researcher, Christina Wilson, the GOP researcher, Lewis Hunter, and then, of course, our fiscal staff, Mr. Erickson. And so with that, I thank you all, and we are adjourned. Thank you.